Welcome to the Dreamers Hub podcast.
We can be whatever we dream.
This podcast is about collaboration between the dreamers and the doers to inspire more people to do more of the things they enjoy doing.
When you do what you love, you achieve so much more with your life.
So if you're into real people having some raw, unapologetic conversations, let's catch a vibe.
Today is your day.
And now, Nettie.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to the Dreamers Hub podcast. We are in season 3, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that we're here because this means that we're making progress. This means that we out here doing the damn thing, and it makes me so happy for all you newcomers that are here, people that just recently found me. Welcome. My name is Nettie Bailon. And this is the podcast where hopefully you'll feel inspired by the end of this episode. Since this is the first episode, I feel like it's only right that we kind of just get into the meat and potatoes of kind of where I've been and what's been happening. And, you know, because I did go, like a few months of just not posting and just keeping kind of my private life private. Now, that being said, we're about to get into just, I guess, a little bit more detail about me and just so kind of, you know, and give you context of, you know, things that have happened for me and kind of like my life experience, like most recently. And let me just start by saying that I am not a victim to anybody's decisions. I'm a product of my own decisions and my own choices in life, whether that be hard, easy, no matter what, that's all on me. And, you know, I've gotten to a point in life where I'm able to control my emotions. I'm able to feel out what I'm feeling. And it hasn't always been that way, you know. That's been a lot of work in progress. I'm constantly a work in progress. I'm not perfect. I know that I have my flaws, but that's something that I think a lot of us fail to acknowledge or fail to own up to. I think there's a lot to say about taking ownership, whether you're right or wrong. So that being said, this episode is going to be dedicated to me speaking my truth. This is, you know, my world through my lens. My experiences, and this is my personal perspective on how I view my reality. So here we go. I'm going to brief you guys kind of on how I ended up back in San Diego. For those of you guys that don't know, I basically grew up in San Diego County. I moved up to like the Temecula, Murrieta area. I went to Elsinore High School up there. As soon as I graduated, I moved back down to San Diego and kind of moved all over San Diego. And then I ended up leaving here, maybe like a little over 10 years ago. And I lived in Orange County. I lived in downtown Long Beach. And then most recently, I ended up in Bakersfield. I bought a home in Central California, which it made sense financially at the time. And so that's where I was most recent at. And just to kind of give you an idea, I was there for almost about 4 years, which is about how long I was in that relationship. And that relationship, you know, was basically a family. Like we bought a house together. We co-parented together. I am obviously no longer in that person's life. But I just kind of want to give you context of what I had and what I thought was going to be the end all be all. And so, you know, I did my best while I was out there to make the best of it. You know, I moved away from my friends and my family and try to make it work. And I'm just one of those type of people that is going to try to see things through, no matter through the good times, the bad times. My whole thing is like, we're going to exhaust all options before we realize that this just isn't going to work out. That being said, I feel like sometimes the universe finds a way to let you know that the options that you think you're exhausting are not the only ways out of situations. That being said, it was towards the end of September that I found out that that person had stepped out of the relationship for over a year. Whether that's emotional, physical, to me, it's pretty much all the same. And I know that everybody has their own views on like emotional cheating or physical cheating, which one's worse. Either way, if you are stealing somebody's time from them, I feel like there's a lot more to be said about that because time is not something that you can get back. So basically when I found out, the minute I found out, instantly, I found out on a Saturday. On Monday, I had already met with the realtor about getting rid of the house and signed paperwork. within a week, this house was sold, and in less than 30 days, we were in escrow and we had a move out date. So it moved pretty fast. For anybody that's ever, bought a house, sold a house or whatever, it kind of gives you an idea of kind of just like how quickly things moved. So after finding out, it was so weird for me because it was nothing like I've never felt before. Yeah, it was, disappointing, and to be hit with something like that, and for my automatic reaction to that was, how do I get back home? How do I get back home? What do I need to do? And literally after that Sunday, I had already put everything into motion about moving, talking to my work, which is insane because most people are like, most people go into like depression mode. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I just think that I've gone through so many failed relationships that by the time I got to this one and that kind of information was brought to me, it almost felt like I immediately knew what I needed to do. I don't know how to explain it. It was almost like I went into administration mode and made it happen. And I don't know if that's the universe telling me that I was in the right direction, because I can tell you that from that moment that I found out and how everything played out thereafter, it was almost too good to be true. Because in the retail life, or, as you guys may know or may not know, I was working for Verizon for almost 11 years. And within that company, you always have to reapply wherever you want to move. So everywhere I moved kind of up the coast, I've always had to apply and still try to get the job. It's just how they play it. It's a corporate world. So it has to be a fair chance for everybody to get that position. And at first thought, I was like, damn, I think I'm going to have to end up quitting Verizon, because right now we're in a pandemic and nothing's going to be available. Like, there's not going to be any positions open because we're not hiring. And I don't know what to do. That was the one thing that was stressing me out, because at that time, the house was already in motion. The house was already in escrow, and I had less than 30 days to figure out my financial situation, figure out my living situation. And so when I tell you that I put things in motion that Sunday, I had already talked to my upper management and their leadership. I had already talked to somebody that I knew was down here that wanted to move back to Bakersfield. So I had already made movements, and it's like moving chess pieces. No later than a week and a half later, I can tell you that obviously I'm down here, so somebody made it happen for me. And it kind of made things, even though I know I was going through a tough time, because I was moving so fast with everything that I needed to do, all the back end stuff. And, I had to talk to my director at the time, and she had to talk to, the legal department, and then you have the headquarters of HR. So all this movement happening, right? All this movement happening, and a week and a half later, I'm in Houston, and I land in Houston because I had gone to this meetup for Beyond Built, which was a training that I was doing. I had gone, even though I didn't want to. I knew that at that moment I needed to be away from that situation. So because that trip was already planned, so I knew that I had to go. So I ended up taking off, even though I was obviously going emotionally, internally through a lot. I picked up and left, and I was there for the weekend. As soon as I landed, I got a phone call from the director letting me know that I'm going back home. When I tell you I ugly cried through that airport, That was the thing that I thought was going to be impossible, because it's never been heard of before. That type of transfer and that type of movement has never been heard of before. And I low-key think it's due to COVID that they made it happen. Granted, so that whole situation happened, right? October 29th was my final day. I'm down here. That weekend, I get down here, and it's my friend's wedding. And so we went to this beautiful wedding, beautiful reception in Rosarito. Spend the weekend there because they had an estate and stuff. And I can't tell you, that's probably been the best case scenario for anybody going through a breakup, just to be surrounded by so many friends and family and just a lot of love in general. And I really do think that played a part in just my mental space too, because there was at that moment, yeah, I was going through things, but it was just a lot of there was just so much love that it's just like, you can't not be happy around that. You just can't. And I mean, naturally, I'm not that type of person to like really sit, in my sadness or whatever. Yes, I have moments of sadness, but it's not that common for me. And even though, yes, I was feeling some type of way, I knew that I was in the right place. It was so crazy. I had to move everything in one day because my U-Haul got canceled and I couldn't book one, and I had to book one like in the middle of the night. I ended up having to move all my stuff through the night. Basically, I picked up something I think like around 10 or 11 p.m. and moved my stuff, made 2 or 3 trips to Bakersfield and back from San Diego just to get all my stuff out on the day that I needed to be out and turn over the keys to the new owner. Now, I also want to say this, is that I don't hold any grudges towards that person. I don't hold any grudges, period, towards anybody. I just don't think that I have it in my heart to hold that. It's not a weight that I would want to carry. And I also want to say that, everybody has their own battles, their own demons to fight. So I can't blame that person for making those decisions, because I'm sure at that time for that person it made sense. That's really not my weight to carry. And that person's decisions is their decision. That's their weight. I can't sit here and tell myself, oh my God, this happened to me, blah, blah, blah. Because I'll tell you that had I looked at it that way, considering everything that's happened up until now, being able to get out of, a 30-year loan in less than 29 days, being able to exit a situation just as gracefully as I possibly could in a non-toxic manner, and being able to move back home and be closer to my family and be closer to my friends. You weigh that all out, and there's no way that I can take that into a negative, because there's so much positive that has come out of that negative situation. And it's kind of crazy because I honestly, I've never exited a relationship like that. That was probably the healthiest exit I have ever made. And obviously that's a lot of growth. The past year, I had spent a lot of time just trying to be better for myself so I can be better in that relationship at that time, which obviously I was working at, not knowing what was going on, and considering how things happen. I can't be mad at that person. I'm not mad at that person. I don't hold any grudges. I have no negative feelings towards that person. Sometimes I'll have my moments, yes, of course, because, you spend so much time with somebody and you spend day in and day out and you build something with them that it's damn near impossible to just unbuild it. It's going to take me time. It's going to take effort on my behalf to be able to work through all these emotions. I'm not going through life now trying to ignore what I was previously building for almost the last 4 years. There's just no way. It's impossible. So a lot of this is me working through it. So if you're just watching this or if you're just listening now, this is me going through a breakup at this age, at this moment in time, through this pandemic. This is me now. It hasn't always been like this. I'm not perfect. I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly learning new. I'm constantly learning new things about myself. And I'm finding new ways that, happiness can come into your life. I think for a long time, I relied on other people to make me happy, not realizing up until now and up until all this happened that I can make myself happy by just simply doing the things that bring me joy. And I can't help to think that this was supposed to happen, because the mental space that I'm in now, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, if you would have told me this is the person I would become, I would have said no friggin' way. No way. No way that I would be that calm and collect, that I would be so-and-so. I've always been a lot of energy. I've always been, silver lining in situations, but never this put together, I guess you could say. Never this emotionally intelligent. Let me just put it like that. So not only have I learned that I can make myself happy, I've also learned that the type of energy that I have is something that I can share, something that I can put out there that somebody's going to get something out of. And that has given me more joy than in any relationship I have ever been in. But I honestly don't think that had that situation not happened a few months back, I would be able to have this perspective on life moving forward. Now moving forward, it just brings me so much joy to know that, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis is impacting somebody in some positive manner. And that's really all I can ask for. Like, I don't think I've ever wanted anything more than that out of life, Like, that to me brings me a lot of joy. Building relationships, friendships with people, like, to me is so much fun. And that's not something that I had previously. I was too far away. I didn't have access to a lot of things. I had a family to take care of. So my time was very, very constrained to just one side of my life. There was really no balance. Where now I feel like, well, now I have my time back, which I'll tell you, after going through that experience, my time is the most valuable thing to me. My time and how I spend it is the most valuable thing to me. So me waking up, 6:30 in the morning to start shooting and all this stuff, like, it brings me so much joy that that's the first thing. I wake up excited to make something every morning. I wake up excited. But yes, by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. But that's only because I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing throughout the morning, throughout the day. At the end of the day, my self-worth is not measured by somebody else's inability to see it. I know my worth. I know what I can bring to the table, what I bring to the table. That being said, I also know my flaws, I know my insecurities, and I know my triggers. Again, all a work in progress, but I think being able to say out loud is the biggest thing that most people fail to do. I think it's important to be able to acknowledge both sides, the good and the bad. Be able to know what, yes, you can bring to the table, what positives you bring, but also what are the things that you need to work on? What are the things that need help, or you need other people's help to get through or grow from. It's so important to not only be able to say that out loud, but also be able to take ownership of the good and bad, acknowledge when you're wrong, and acknowledge when you fuck up. It's okay to say sorry. That doesn't make you weak. You need to be able to say those things out loud. And at the same time, you need to be able to say the positive. You need to be able to give people compliments. You need to be able to acknowledge people's hard work, whether that's personal growth or physical. Be able to give that person like a, hey, you're doing great, whether that's in a relationship or a friendship. Like, that's so important to voice out loud, because some people need to hear that. Some people don't want to have to ask for that. Don't ask for a compliment. You shouldn't have to ask for a compliment. If somebody wants to acknowledge you, they will. And it's so important to be acknowledged, whether you're in a relationship or not. It's so important to say the good and the bad, because people can't read your fucking mind. You need to be able to voice that. People that voice how they really feel get a lot of, I think, bad rep because they're too blunt, or they're too straightforward, or it sounds mean. But sometimes you got to hear that shit. You got to be able to hear the good and the bad, because you're never going to grow if you don't. But also, like, communication is key in any friendship, in any relationship. Like, if without that communication and without being open to feedback, I don't think that anything positive will come about. And I just don't think that friendship or relationship is going to go much further from that. There's no way that two people can grow if there's no communication at all. So be able to say the good and the bad. Be able to say that out loud. Be able to say that without fear. Be able to say that confidently, and if it's, because the alternative to that is what? Being unhappy, being miserable, being forced to stay in a toxic situation, which you probably could have, regained your time had you just said what you needed to say, because either way, you're going to argue, either way, you're going to disagree. And it's okay to agree to disagree. Realistically, people can't have the same perspective at all times. I think you should be able to have tough conversations in a relationship. You should be able to have moments where you disagree. It doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't have to be so negative. Sometimes I think, obviously, the tone of voice can make a huge difference. But when you go into a situation or a conversation where you're open to that feedback and you're open to just, personal growth, I think so much more can come from that. I hope that you can take something from that and apply it to yourself, apply something positive to yourself, to your situation. I know that not everybody's going to have the same situation, but I would only hope that my experiences or my outlook on things now would, help you in any situation in your own personal life and your personal growth. So again, this episode was simply dedicated to let you know, where I'm at and give you context about the things that I've most recently gone through. Obviously, there's way more, and I'll use another episode for that, but this one was solely dedicated to let you in on the type of things that I have to overcome as a regular human being. I'm not anybody special. I'm just another individual just trying to get through this thing called life, and sometimes life just happens. How you ride the wave can make a huge difference. You can't fight the wave sometimes you just have to ride it all the way through, and the universe will find a way to show you that you're going to be on the right path. And I think for me, this was it, and this was one of the most pivotal moments in my life to get through. And being blessed with a great group of friends, a great group of family, and just like a legit support system, I couldn't be more thankful for. And even the situation for some might have been unfortunate. For me, I see it as a blessing in disguise. I can't tell you enough. I don't know how else I would have ended up here. I don't know if I ever would have been able to move back. But considering everything that happened, I did what I thought was best for me. Because at the end of the day, you should be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. I will leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you lending me your ear. And I only hope that you got inspired by something that you heard in this episode. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Hold up. One more thing. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dreamers Hub podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, and share with the real ones in your life. Be sure to tune in to more inspirational content next week. Peace.